Fort Worth Mayor Mattie Parker, thank you so much. Welcome back to Eye on Politics.
Of course, Jack.
So the tributes are pouring in for former mayor, longtime Congresswoman Kay Granger. How would you describe her?
Kay was tough, but incredibly caring. She was really funny. If you got to know her, you knew that side of her. She was a fantastic artist, and she cared deeply about the work she did. I mean, she sacrificed so much for District 12 in Congress, for Fort Worth specifically, Tarrant County, and she loved her job and felt it was a great honor to be a member of Congress especially.
And the one word I also hear a lot of is trailblazer.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
How so, and why is that so important?
And Kay knew she was a trailblazer, but she didn't lead with that, right? It wasn't her identity, but once she became the first in so many occasions, I think then she really understood she had a responsibility to live up to being the first woman mayor of Fort Worth, first Republican woman elected to Congress from Texas, which was significant. The first woman to lead the Appropriations Committee, very significant. And she would often remind you that her seriousness, her work ethic is what got her there, not her gender. And she always wanted to be taken seriously at any table. It's something I really learned about her. People that were in meetings with Kay, or certainly for those of us that staffed for her, knew she wanted to be the most prepared. She was oftentimes not the person that talked the most, but so that when she did speak, you listened. And as a result, she was successful because she just had that drive and focus. But she never wanted you to use your femininity or your gender to get somewhere. But she also understood it was a superpower because Kay, maybe above all else, she had an incredibly high empathy level for people she could read and understand. Maybe some of that was because of taking care of her mother, being a single mom, all of those roles that she had at different times. And I know that all those contributing factors helped Kay be successful. And I hope she knows we're proud of her. I hope she knows that she was a trailblazer. And so many of us, I was texting with fellow staffers this morning about it.
And yet, what would you say her lasting legacy is? Because it was more than just being a trailblazer, right?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many. I mean, Fort Worth's success was really in the balance when she was mayor of Fort Worth. And she'd been a zoning commissioner, she'd been on council, became mayor at a really difficult budget time period. We had one of the highest murder rates in the entire country at the time. She presided over working alongside our police department, our management team, to create the CCPD fund to help focus on public safety. So Fort Worth's success and long-term trajectory, I think, is one. Her love for the military. People sometimes mistake her role in defense appropriations with something that was selfish for attention. They were wrong. I mean, she knew the importance of our military, our veteran community here in Fort Worth, of course, to legacy industries and defense aviation from Lockheed to Bell. But she wanted to serve in those capacities because it was the best thing for the city of Fort Worth and for her people here, her constituents. And as a result, she was successful. She focused in those ways. And she took that. I remember helping her prepare for Codell trips across the world. She always wanted to know who her men and women were in uniform, especially if they were from Fort Worth. That was a significant responsibility that she shared. And I think lastly is she had this keen sense of responsibility for pragmatic politics and to be a consensus builder, even if sometimes it hurt her. I just shared with another reporter who was asking me about her, and Kay was not interested in performance. She didn't really care about getting notoriety or attention if it didn't serve the job and the role that she was responsible for at the time. And as a result, I don't care who you ask in Congress if they served with her, they would say Kay was incredibly hardworking, knowledgeable, focused on getting things done, even if they had to be on the other side of the aisle from her or bargaining table from her. She was tough, and as a result, I think got things done.
You said that you described her also as a mentor and a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So you worked for her while she was serving in Congress?
I did. Mm-hmm.
And so how did she become a mentor to you?
And
how does that impact your leadership today?
Yeah, in so many ways. I was, again, sharing. So context is helpful. I was in law school for 3 of the 5 years I worked for Kay. She supported that. I took the bar exam. I had our first child. We adopted a child, all while working for Kay. So she saw me through all those life moments. And despite how tough she was and demanding, believe me, plenty of war stories there, she also cared about our family and really wanted me to be successful. Let me take a month off to take the bar exam and get ready for that. She was funny. She's like, "We're not taking this again. Let's take the right amount of time off and take the bar exam, pass the bar exam." You know, one of the first people to come over and hold Grayson, who's now 15, hard to believe. So
certainly very personal for you. Yeah. So you mentioned Bell and Lockheed, and what about Panther Island? What about some of the other projects that we see in Fort Worth?
And I should mention before I answer your question, also her love for the base, for NASJRB that was Carswell. You know, she was serving on council when they closed the base through the BRAC process. And she helped bring that back and make sure that NASJRB was even in existence today. So she protected that base her entire tenure in Congress. She was fierce. And DOD knew at any moment, they even put that base on a map for BRAC again, they had to answer to Kay Granger. And I think it also was a driving reason why she wanted to be an appropriator. She wanted to be on defense. She wanted to protect that base for the vitality of Fort Worth. And it has been incredibly impactful from an economic standpoint, of course, but also to long-term trajectory and focus and success of Fort Worth, like I said earlier. Panther Island's a great example of a project that has always been shrouded in some question, and at times maybe people wondered why this project was so significant. Ironically, I was just at the base command, or the change of command, for U.S. Army Corps of Engineers here in Fort Worth this past Friday. And it was a reminder of how important this particular project is for flood control and mitigation here in our city. Yes, does it unlock incredible economic opportunity and development? And it will, yes. But we are now in the middle of that project finally coming to fruition, and Kay was tenacious to support that project and see the vision through for Fort Worth. And it would not be in this position today without Kay Granger. And ultimately, when we start turning dirt on the canals and the channel and move forward on big development, it will only be because of Kay Granger's tenacity to make sure that project happened.
Last question. The fact that she was the first Republican woman to chair House Appropriations, it is a big deal, especially that committee. Right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
It's incredibly hard work. I mean, think about what it took to get there, to be taken serious enough. Multiple administrations, different speakers, different leadership, making sure you were the very best and ready and prepared to serve in that capacity. I think it was an honor of a lifetime to serve as chairwoman in her last 2 years in Congress, of course. And I do think it reflects, again, she always played the long game. She set really, really difficult goals for herself and for her staff. That's where we're headed, and that's ultimately what she wanted to achieve in Congress. But incredible sacrifice to get there. You know, Kay, I remember when I first sat down with her after I was elected as mayor, and she knew I was a mom with young children. She talked a lot about what balance and sacrifice looks like and how to get it right. And she knew that better than anybody. You know, oftentimes it's easy, I think, for the general population to have negative things about members of Congress. Sure, maybe some of that they bring on themselves. But having watched Kay and working for her all those years, she left home every Monday and did not get home until Thursday or Friday, but she always came home. And she didn't come home to hide out. She had a packed schedule in her district. And she did that year after year after year to serve this district in Fort Worth. Another great example of Kay's just focus on the job is ask anybody that went through the nomination process to enter a military academy what her process was like. A panel of interviews that were experts, many of them, most of them were all former cadets themselves, graduates from West Point or from Air Force Academy. They had to go through a rigorous application process. My point is, she wanted greatness from herself, from her staff, from her constituents. She wanted to serve. She had one of the very best constituent services offices in the country and was well regarded because of that. Did she hire great people? Yes, we had amazing people in our district office, but she invested in that. She wanted that for her constituents and thought it was a part of her job. And as a result, she was incredibly well respected for it.
Mayor Mattie Parker, thank you so much.
Of course, thanks, Jack.
We appreciate it.
Of course.